Hello, 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 everybody. This is your faithful friend, Sandra Graves. And today we have an awesome topic. We're always talking about how to, raise your self-esteem and all of these topics. But today we're talking about business. Why write a book in business? And I thought that when they presented this topic to me, I thought, that is really interesting. So I am ready to learn what our guests have today for us. But first, I want to welcome you to The Code. Don't forget that we are here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, whenever God allows. And on Tuesdays in Spanish, in El Código. So if you would like to be a guest on this show, please send us an email to info@invivoassociates.com. And today we have our guest on. Her name is Kim Lambert, and she's an author and publishing coach. And she is right now in Australia. So right now over there is morning, and she gave us the honor to wake up early and talk to us late. So we are going to be getting all that information from Kim. But Kim, first, before we start, can you just introduce yourself more and tell us who you are and what you do, and then merge into the conversation?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Just a very quick backgrounder on me. I spent a lot of my life working in corporate jobs in the IT side of things, as it happens. But from when I was a teenager, I'd always written stories, and I got convinced somewhere probably when I was about 20 that I wasn't very good at that, and I put it aside, even though I'd had stories published in magazines at that point. And over the years, as I got less and less interested in working in corporate roles, not that I hated it, I was just bored. I realized that actually I was still writing stories most days, because in a corporate job, you write reports, you write proposals, you write all these things that are about getting someone to sign off on it, or telling people what's gone on, or convincing someone to do something. And really, it struck me after a long time that this was bureaucratic fiction. This was just telling a story in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1990, I'd actually been involved in a small business with friends, and we had published a book of science fiction short stories. Now, back in 1990, we didn't have the tools we have now for publishing, so that was a pretty painful and expensive process. And we went, well, we're not sure we want to do that again. And we parked that side of the business, and we used to sell art prints and other things online, all the while still doing a corporate job. And then around 2007, 2008, a transition point happened in the technology where people had already started selling books as PDFs online, just off little websites.
Uh-huh.
And then Amazon invented the Kindle. Now, Amazon inventing the Kindle device was a very, very clever marketing thing for them.
Yeah.
Every Kindle device they sell, from the start to now, they sell at a loss. And they do that because as soon as you have a device, you have to fill it up with things to read. So they make their profit out of you for the rest of your life on the books you buy.
That's right.
And what happened is that when they invented this, they suddenly realized they didn't have enough content to sell to people to fill them up. So they then invented the self-publishing, direct publishing portal, so that people would put content on their platform so they could sell it to other people. And I sort of looked at all this going on and went, no, this looks like it's a hell of a lot easier than doing books used to be. Let me apply all the things I learned about publishing back then to this. So I started publishing books. And initially I published some cookbooks and things just to teach myself how the new platforms worked. And within a couple of years, I had a plan to get myself out of corporate jobs into just doing publishing, both my own books and other people's books, and teaching people how to do it, because it was far more fun than doing a corporate job. And So in 2014, I stepped out of corporate jobs completely. And since then, I've just been doing books. I write books as myself, mainly non-fiction, and I also write books under a couple of pen names in fiction. My most successful pen name, I have over 20 books out there now, and that's increasing steadily. And most of my income now comes from my books. A percentage still from mentoring people, from teaching people how to do publishing, how to get their book written, and publishing books for people, mainly business people.
So, but when you're talking about publishing, is that something that you work with a publisher or you are your own publisher?
I am the publisher. I have a business which is the publishing company.
Oh, that is awesome. That is really good. But do you find that people are scared of writing, or they believe that they don't have what it takes to write a book?
Absolutely. That's very much the case.
So what would you tell someone that is listening right now and believe, I cannot write a business book? I mean, I am a business executive, but I'm not comfortable writing a business book.
So there's two bits to this. One is that now is the best kind of time ever to write a book. And the reason is that until the digital publishing revolution happened, like 10 years ago or a bit less, to get a book published, not only did you have to get it written, but then you had to convince a traditional publisher that they could sell at least 5,000 copies of your book in their local area because everything was regional, or they wouldn't even look at it. So maybe one book in 100,000 that actually got written ever got published, because a traditional publisher is going to pay you some kind of advance, smaller and smaller these days. They're then going to print thousands of books, cost up front for them. They're going to pay a salesperson to pitch bookshops to get those books in there. So they have all these costs before a book is ever sold. So they don't publish something unless they're really, really sure it'll go. But now those barriers are gone. Not only do we have better tools for writing, and we'll come back to that in a minute, but we have the ability to get it out there at a far lower cost, without a gatekeeper of someone saying, can we sell 5,000 in the local region? It can go out there. And if you have a business now and you already have customers, you already know there's a demand for what you know. And in the whole world, there are going to be thousands of people who want to know what you know. It doesn't have to just be in your local area. It can be anywhere in the world. Pick any topic you can think of. There'll be at least 5,000 people in the world interested in it, no matter how weird and wonderful it is. So there's a good reason to write it. I mean, that people always say, why would anyone read a book by me? And the answer is, do you have customers? Well,
good question.
So then how do you get it written is the next one. And there are two ends of this. People go, what will I write? I have no idea. Or they go, oh my God, I know so much, I have to tell them everything. It's like, no, stop, don't write an encyclopedia. Because people don't want to read an encyclopedia.
Right.
Who goes home and pulls out the encyclopedia at the beginning and just doesn't happen?
Not anymore.
What people want is to have their problem solved. Which is what you do as a business. When your customer comes to you, they come to you because they need a service or they need a thing, and you provide that thing. Their problem is they need something. You solve the problem by selling it to them. So a book is the same concept. Your book needs to be about one thing. It needs to solve one problem. So if what you do in your business can solve multiple different problems, great, you're going to write a series. And that will make you even more authoritative.
I like how you mentioned that about solving a problem, because that's what people are always thinking, oh, nobody is going to pay attention to me, nobody's going to read it. But if they focus on what you said about what problem they can solve, which they're doing it at work already in their business. So it's something that it's just like creating a manual for your customers, and something that can help them out and they can distribute it, right?
Yeah, and what happens is that people then go, oh, well, in my business, I do all these things for people. How do I know which one to write first? And the answer is very simple. What is the most common question your customers ask you? Now, 99.9% of business owners will instantly be able to answer that question. They will know because they're so sick of answering that common question.
Yeah.
In fact, they're just as likely to turn around and say, oh, they always ask me this. I've written an FAQ because I'm so sick of answering it. I hand them the leaflet. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you've already written the beginning of your book, haven't you?
Yeah. And I do have a story about that, because there was many years ago, I was giving this girl advice about self-esteem, and all the time I would write it down for her, and then finally I got tired and I found a weekend and wrote the whole thing and gave her some instruction, and it turned into a book. So I do believe that people can do that. It whatever it is that you keep saying over and over and over again, just like Kim said, write it down and put it together. I mean, seriously, I totally believe what she's saying.
And now we have systems online where not only can you make that into a book, you can make it into an online course.
That's right.
So the possibilities are infinite. But there's another sort of side to this stuff. Another reason that I believe that people should do it. I mean, writing a book is going to boost your business authority instantly, because if you've got competitors and a customer is trying to choose between you, who's they going to pick? The person who wrote the book on it. It's fairly obvious. But beyond that...
So, Linda, you said the competitors. Will there be a problem with the person writing a book about their business and the competitors picking up their book and getting the information?
Well, possibly. But again, in business, unless your product is a massively simple consumable, somebody else knowing the logic, the information around what you do, doesn't mean that they can do it the same way.
Good point.
Often the reason the customer comes to you is your personality.
That's right.
Who you are, how you and your staff and that interact with them, the branding of your business, the feel of the whole thing. So even if your competitor reads your book, they may not present the information the same way when they try to do that, because they're not you. Excuse me. But the other thing that has become really interesting in the last few years is that if you look at history, the reason we know much about history at all is that historians have dug through the written records. So they find out things about how hundreds of years ago a big country home operated by digging through ledgers that recorded what was paid where and who bought what and who it was bought from, digging through boxes of receipts and letters and all these things, because everything was written.
Yeah.
So we know all these things about history because people wrote things down. Well, we don't do that anymore. Sure, everything's on social media, but it's not like you have a box of letters at home a historian could go through. You have accounts on 5, 10, 30 social media sites. You post on all of them randomly, depending on where you are and what you're doing. You have pictures all over the place. We actually share more about our lives and record more than we ever did. But it's not consolidated anywhere. It's just everywhere in pieces. And in a business, it's everywhere in your website, in a blog, in leaflets, brochures, FAQs, things you say to people, email. It's fragmented. Everything is fragmented. And we have no process for preserving that. Right? With social media, you see this already. If somebody dies, what happens to their accounts? What happens to all of the history of that person? It tends to either stay there static, one slice of their life, or be deleted, gone, everything gone. So unless we make books which are still regarded as intrinsically valuable of themselves, we lose things. Unless you record things, your skills, knowledge, ideas, stories, life experience, family history, whatever interests you to record. When you're gone, it will be gone.
Right.
But if you make it a book, if you record that in a form that society views as an intrinsically valuable thing that should be preserved,
Right.
then it will get preserved.
So it will be an opportunity to leave your legacy in that
Absolutely.
book. So what we're going to do, thank you for sharing those points with us. We're going to go and take a break. And when we're back, I would like for you to tell us more about how the people that are listening can do that themselves. I know for some people it's just be like, oh, this sounds so difficult. What can you tell them that would be easier for them? So we'll be right back.
People Live every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't forget, we're bringing you coaches, speakers, classes, and much more. We are here to help you grow. Don't forget, we are here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Well, welcome back to the Code. And today we have a star with us. Her name is Kim Lambert. I mean, listen to the last name. She sounds like a movie star or something like that. And she's sharing with us about why write a book in business. And she presented some points. And one of the main points that I want to remind you guys is that it's about coming up with solutions. What solutions can you bring to the table, and then writing a book on that. And also is really one of the things that I said before I left is about leaving a legacy. She was saying accumulating your thoughts, accumulating all this information that you have gathered all these years, and then put them down in a book. You can leave something behind, something of yourself, and that will be a book. So what I asked Kim to do is to share more about how you can do that. If you were interested in writing a book in business, how? Where do you start? What do you do? Okay, so Kim, all yours.
Okay. Excuse me. I do apologize.
That's okay.
So usually when people look at starting this, they instantly get overwhelmed. Either because they don't know where to start, or because they have so much that they don't feel they can ever write it down. So it's a case of taking that step back and, as a business person, starting with what is the most common question your customers ask you, and then focusing just on the answer to that question, the thing that solves that problem that they ask about. If you go to the material you already have, if you've written articles about it, blog posts, if you've got leaflets about it, you've already got a lot of material written. The simplest way to work out what order to put material in your book is to think about, if a person stood in front of you and asked you that question, how would you answer it? What would you say to them, in what order to answer that question? And you just jot down notes about that, about the order in which you would address it. And then you look at the material you already have, if you've talked about it in blog posts and things, and you can pretty much copy and paste sections of those into parts of that structure, that order of explanation that you just wrote down. You'll be surprised how much material you've actually got when you've done that. When you've looked at what you've got and put it into that order, then you look at what's missing. What is there that you haven't actually ever written down before, but that you know you say when you answer it verbally? Write that down and fill in the blanks. Then smooth it out so it links from one section to the next. The next thing that people say to me is, so I've done that, but I don't have very much. It's not very many pages long. This is where you'd be surprised. Most of us think of pages in terms of using Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word defaults to a letter or A4 sized page, depending on where you are in the world. Well, a letter or A4 sized page is actually 2 to 2.5 book pages, because a book is 5 by 8 inches or 6 by 9 inches, depending on what size you want it to be. Whereas an A4 or letter page is like 8 by 11 inches. So if you've got 30 or 40 pages of typing in Word, by the time you spread that out into chapters, lay it out nicely, stick in a few pictures or diagrams, put a title page and a table of contents and a dedication and an introduction in the front, put a connect with me on social media or about the author, business information blurb in the back, then you've got 100 to 120 page book.
Wow.
And that's the perfect size for a business book, because it's going to be small enough that it won't weigh too much if you're going to post it to someone, so the shipping won't be a killer. It's big enough to be impressively a book. It's small enough that somebody looks at it and they go, that's not overwhelming, I could read that.
Yeah.
So that it's a sweet spot for a business book in that kind of size. And it's not that hard to write that many pages, especially when you've already looked at it, because you answer that question every day and you know what you can say.
Well, they do. A lot of these people that are listening, you that are listening right now, you already write, like she said at the beginning, you write all these business reports and you do all of these things for your job, and maybe your old job that, you thought that they did some things wrong and you can do it better, and all of those. There's so much things that you can do. So don't lock yourself in of thinking, I cannot do it. Yes, you can do it.
Yeah. So I very much encourage people to just start with that approach. And if they still find it overwhelming, the easiest way, and this works whether you're writing a business book or a fiction story, is to pick a time each day, so same time every day, a time when you know you can sit down for at least 10 minutes. And promise yourself that every day you're going to write at least one sentence. Just one sentence. Doesn't take very long. And that if at the end of that one sentence you feel like you can keep going, then you do until you run down, until you get stuck, or until life demands you get up, feed the kids, let the dog out, whatever. If you do that, you'll find that most days you'll write far more than one sentence. But approaching it with the logic that I only have to write one sentence makes it not so scary, not so overwhelming, and it lets you get it done. That 100-page book in a business book might only be 10 or 15,000 words. If you can write 1,000 words a day, and that's only 2 or 3 A4 or letter pages, then it's only going to take you 2 weeks to write your book. Even if you only write 1 A4 or letter page worth of content a day, it's only going to take you 6 weeks to write your book. That's not very long in real terms. So don't think that writing a book has to take years. It doesn't have to be long, drawn-out torture.
Like most people believe. Yeah. But if you are interested in learning more about this topic, you can reach Kim Lambert. Her website is right at the bottom of this video. And then it's just dreamstonepublishing.com. And Kim, is there should they just go to your website, or do you have a Facebook, Instagram, any other place where they can reach you?
You can find us on Facebook as Dreamstone Publishing, excuse me, on Twitter as Dreamstone Books, and on Instagram as Dreamstone Books.
So if someone were to contact you, how can you help them? What kind of service will you be providing the person if they are interested in getting a book going?
So we can provide services ranging from just specific things. So if all you want is to have something you've written proofread, we can go down as narrow as that, right through to mentoring services to help you get the book written. So regular support and analysis and working through that and helping you get it written and improve what you're writing, through to full publishing packages to take you from when you've written that first draft all the way through to having your book published and out there on Amazon and other sites. Just depends what you want.
And you will be able to direct them, or you will help them publish it yourself?
I do work with them on most of it. I have
Okay.
some staff who help me do some steps of the process,
Okay.
but I have my finger in everything.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking, because there's always people contacting me and about publishing and all that. So really, for them to just have somebody to be able to just go to and find out, and maybe, because a lot of the people that reach out to me, they're just like, oh, it just sounds like so much work. I'm so confused. I don't know where to start, just like you said. So now you know where to start. You're listening to this video. If you didn't get to listen to the beginning of this presentation, this interview, rewind the video and start it over and listen to the whole thing, because she was actually presenting some good points about how you can write your own business book. And it doesn't have to be a business book, but you're already working in your own business. You're already your own product. Why not turn it into a book? So, Kim, just to finish up, is there any last words that you wanted to share with us, with the people that are listening?
Absolutely. Remember, when you think that you don't know enough or that people wouldn't be interested, remember times when you've met a new person and they've said to you, as so often happens, "What do you do?" And you've told them. I'll guarantee there have been lots of times the response has been, "Wow, that's amazing. I could never do that." That's why you need to write a book. That's why people will read your book, because what's ordinary to you, because you do it all the time, is extraordinary to someone else.
What? I love the way you ended that. Very, very, very good. I mean, really motivating, those words. And right now, she left you with a lot to think about. Think about what you do that is very unique. And I know we always have something that we do that is very unique and others cannot do it. So thank you, Kim, for your time today. Thank you, and may you enjoy your Australia experience. And all you guys, wherever you are, may you be blessed. And thank you again. And if anything, just reach out to Kim for more information. And like I said, her website is at the bottom of this video, and that is dreamstonepublishing.com, so that you can learn more about her. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.